What is up, guys? Welcome back to Music Major Meltdown. My name's Blake.
And my name is Sam.
And today we tell you why Daft Punk is dead.
Oh, gosh. Daft Punk.
It literally blew up. They blew up one of their members. So if you've been living under a rock or in a very large hole, like I'm sure a lot of us have in 2020, Daft Punk broke up a couple weeks ago. Super sad face. So if you haven't taken the time to listen to Daft Punk, they were revolutionary in the late 90s, early 2000s in electronic music and French house and dance music, specifically on their album Discovery, which, if you know the song Harder, Better, Faster, Stronger, obviously that's become a staple. But, Daft Punk, I just got to say, they were transcendent of their genre because they had such great influence in the dance scene, but they were being played in mostly clubs in the early 2000s. Then they got a bunch of samples. LSD Sound System really loved them. Kanye West obviously famously sampled them on Stronger. And so then their influence was almost outweighing their actual recorded material. Then they come back with Random Access Memories. So now not only are they popular in the clubs, but they morphed their electronic music and their dance music into this disco, funk, R&B, soft rock kind of thing, with Nile Rodgers from Chick, Pharrell Williams, obviously, a couple other great guest appearances like Julian Casablancas of The Strokes, Animal Collective singer Panda Bear, doing it right off Random Access Memories. Amazing song. But basically, they went from being played in clubs to making sure that now their music was even more accessible on pop radio. And just when we were waiting for the next album after Random Access Memories, they went out on top. They had a few songs with The Weeknd. So they cemented themselves in two different types of legacies: dance music, pop music. Legends. So if you haven't taken the time to listen to Daft Punk, we just want to do quick tribute to them. Go listen to them. They're awesome.
Yeah, check them out. They are a fantastic group, and hopefully, we can always hope that there might be a reunion or more or something from them. But as of right now, they have, as you said, left on top. They absolutely.
They've always been very, private about themselves. Obviously, they've really never shown their face in public because they have the helmets, and they always wanted the music to speak for itself, which is very commendable, especially in today's time with technology and every celebrity being so visible, and the fact that they were able to kind of avoid a lot of that, and really just focus on their craft and focus on their music. They're really influential, inspirational in that regard, and I don't think we'll have another artist like them anytime soon. Like they had a great voice. Their voice, you could tell when it was a Daft Punk song. So
absolutely, they were fantastic. Lots of respect goes out to them, and we here at Music Major Meltdown, and we here with everything. We wish them the best. Both of us wish them the best in their future endeavors. Hopefully they'll keep making music, but if they want to leave completely, like we said, they're leaving on top of their game. So good for them.
And Daft Punk was very recognized at a very specific awards show called the Grammys, which
absolutely
made some headlines.
Grammys. We just recently had a Grammys this past weekend. Absolutely fantastic show we had. I loved it personally. I know I watched the whole thing. Blake, did you see?
I did not watch it. I'll be honest right now. I didn't watch it because I don't frankly care about I'm sure the performances were cool. So I'll give it that. But
and this year I think they hit something special. Like, I'm not trying to give them over props because I think we've talked about it a little bit on here before. The Grammys are not always the best indicator of what is the best music. And this year kind of hit both a good and a bad swing with that idea, that they hit a really good swing that it was primarily performances. The whole thing from start to finish, it was like 3.5 hours, something like that. and they only gave out about maybe 6 awards in that whole time. And the awards, exactly like if you've seen the Oscars or the Emmys or Tonys, whatever, they gave the awards out the same fashion. Little bit of a lead in from a performer for about like 30 seconds to a minute. Then they announce the nominees. They announce the winner gives a speech. The whole thing of giving out an award only takes about 3 or 4 minutes, maybe at most. And that didn't change this time. They didn't lengthen that out at all. But they still only gave out about 3 or 4 awards. So it was kind of cool. You got to see a lot of different performances from wide range of artists, I would say overall. Nobody performed twice.
Is that a good thing though? Because
I think so.
the popular categories it's great for, but like a lot of the categories that are kind of being phased out now, like some electronic music or world music, like different ethnic group related music, or even like the traditional rock and country and alternative genres are all in the preview show now. So I don't know if it's a good thing. It feels like we're not necessarily giving as much exposure to artists anymore.
Well, I would say, first of all, I think we gave a lot of exposure to artists because of how much of the Grammys was purely performances.
Okay.
So giving exposure to the right artists, you could kind of make the argument there. And that was going to be my second point, is that even like we did get a lot of really great performances out of it, but we didn't get to hear from a lot of the different artists that we just don't hear about as much anymore. Like the Grammys have sort of slowly been systematically working its way into just like pop and hip hop are all they really talk about in the main show.
Which that's
they
what's in the
definitely
mainstream, and
did.
I understand like keeping what's in the mainstream, but I feel like they're also in part helping dictate what's in the mainstream instead of helping music to be diverse.
And yeah, I mean, I think that's true. We know American pop, just everything, like what's popular in America is one specific set of music. It doesn't really range ever out of typical pop sound besides hip hop sound kind of going in with that. But and yeah, I mean, exactly what I would have said as my critique is we didn't get to see much from any of the other genres of music. I mean, even country, one of the biggest genres in America, was hardly present in the awards. Like one of the awards they gave out during the show was a country award for best country album, if I remember correctly. And I mean, Miranda Lambert won, and it was a great album from what I've heard, and she performed a great song off of the album. So big props to her. But that was even country, which is such an American staple, was barely present. It was a lot of like pop with some of the pop artists had a bit more of a rock influence. Like shout out to the Black Pumas. They gave a great performance. I had never heard of them before, but they gave such an awesome like rock, kind of a little bit of funk in there too performance of a song or two off of their, really, I think it's their debut album, if I remember correctly. They did such a great job with that, and I thought that was cool. We got the first live performance of Silk Sonic, Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak's supergroup that they're creating, with an album coming out soon, which that was pure 70s funk that we got to see, which I thought was also fantastic. And there was, like I said, a little bit of variation. There was a lot of hip hop artists present there alongside the more typically pop artists. A little bit of rock thrown in there as well. I would say the Haim sisters have more rock influence than a lot of pop artists. But yeah, I mean, you are correct, Blake. There was a lot of that sort of pop sound, but for one night, I wasn't even that upset by it. I thought everybody who performed gave awesome performances. Harry Styles opened the show. Fantastic performance of Watermelon Sugar. Loved it. Just the first 20 minutes was just 4 back-to-back performances with maybe a commercial break in there, but not even any awards. Just went from Harry Styles to Billie Eilish to the Haim sisters and then to the Black Pumas. Was just the 4 awesome performances all in a room doing that. So cool. I was a big fan of this, and I think awards wise too, there was a lot of great winners out there that really, like, I will say, of the people at least nominated, which we could go into discussions about whether some groups should have been nominated or not, or what that
Oh, we will.
there. But I think for who was nominated, I think the best people won out of those nominations. Record of the
I
year,
didn't notice anything super glaring. I thought in the main four categories it was good. So I guess, do we want to talk about that really quick? How many albums that were featured in the album of the year category were you at least familiar with, if not had heard multiple tracks off of?
Let's see. I know I had heard at least a couple tracks off the winner, Folklore by Taylor Swift, and everything I've heard about Folklore. I barely heard any criticisms.
I listened to it
I
last
think
night. It is absolutely golden.
it is
It is
fantastic.
an
And actually, now
alternative
that I
shit for
even
her.
think about it,
Her vocals are amazing. You could tell she was really introspective about this. And as other people have described it, it's like 2020's perfect medicine. Yeah, you can tell she's grown so much as an artist. It's beautifully produced, beautifully written.
absolutely, yeah. Folklore, I have listened to all the way through once. It is a fantastic album. Definitely deserved the win. Of the other ones on here, I think, well, I didn't listen to it before the Grammys, but I started listening to the Black Pumas album after the Grammys, after hearing all the praise they got, and I can see why that one was nominated. Everyday Life by Coldplay, I definitely heard before, and maybe not all the way through, but a good majority of the songs.
I have
Women in
listened to that
Music,
all the
Part
way
3
through.
by Haim. That was a great album. Listened
Yes.
to that one all the way through, all the way through on that one. And I've listened to at least quite a few songs off of Hollywood's Bleeding by Post Malone, which that one, if that one would have won, I would have been surprised. That one was not my favorite. I like the Post Malone sound, and I think he does really well within his sound group. Like what he does really well, but he only does a couple things. He
Sure.
doesn't get too interesting or change up a whole lot. And maybe Post Malone fans out there, if you're a big fan, call me out. I'm probably wrong on that. I am very willing to admit there's probably stuff that I'm missing. To my ears, I don't hear a whole lot of difference between a lot of his songs. I think his songs are good, but wasn't a whole lot of difference there. The other ones, Future Nostalgia by Dua Lipa, I've of course heard a couple of the songs off of that just because they've been everywhere. And then Je Sais Volume 3 by Jacob Collier, never heard that one. And Chilombo by Janae Aiko, I have never heard anything off of that one either, so I won't even comment. But Folklore, I think, definitely deserves the win out of this. She did some amazing work. Even my dad saw Taylor Swift perform at the Grammys, and he was like pretty much blown away, thought she did an amazing performance and loved the song she was performing. So
Awesome.
Taylor Swift, we love you here. Fantastic.
You know, it's not to say that like other artists weren't deserving either, but like Taylor Swift was definitely deserving. So like no qualms with the win on that. So I listened to all of Everyday Life by Coldplay and also all of Women in Music Part 3 by Haim. Listened to a little bit, just like one song of Jacob Collier. He's actually a really interesting musician because he, for what I'm aware, has perfect pitch and can sing microtones.
Ooh, that's interesting.
Yes. So for those of you that wouldn't know, basically, the Western scale of music is a 12-tone system. So there's 12 notes that you can play on piano, and then there are octaves. And when we're talking about microtones, we basically mean a note that would be in between the keys on a keyboard. So it's a quarter of a step instead of every piano note that's half a step away from each other. So the fact that he can sing that is brilliant. So I think there was some very unique, some jazz stuff and some unique vocal ability on that album. So I'm sure it deserves the nomination. I do have a little bit of a qualm that I want to point out.
Go for it.
There was an album by Fiona Apple that a lot of people really liked, And for what I've never listened to Fiona Apple but from what I've heard, she deserves a lot of respect. My qualm is that a lot of people gave Coldplay crap for getting nominated for Album of the Year. So I'd like to just go on this little rant here. Coldplay deserved every bit of that Album of the Year nomination. A lot of people said we didn't even know Coldplay released an album in 2020. It's because they didn't. They released it in 2019. Too little to no promotion because they were getting sick of the touring cycle and everything. They actually didn't know if they were going to record another album again after A Head Full of Dreams. Chris Martin basically said, we've recorded everything we wanted to. And then they kind of surprise dropped, not super surprised, but kind of surprise dropped an album at the end of 2019. And it kind of got lost in all of COVID going on, as some albums did. So saying that because it wasn't popular enough for mainstream is kind of a BS argument for why it shouldn't get Album of the Year, because the Grammys isn't the chart system. The Grammys is not the Billboard. If it was a good album, then it should at least deserve consideration. And it's not like this album didn't have any, selling power whatsoever. It charted at number 3 in the US and it charted at number 1 on the UK charts. Yeah, it didn't have a top 40 single, not in the US. In the UK, it did, but it's one of their most expansive albums to date. And, if you don't, my biggest point with this basically is if you don't listen to an album, you don't get to decide whether or not it deserved to be nominated. I don't care what you say, the chart impact or whatever it is. If you haven't listened to an album, you don't get to have an opinion on whether it deserved to be nominated or not. I get really annoyed with this. A lot of Coldplay's fans are supporting them, including myself, because it's a phenomenal album. It's probably their best album since Viva La Vida. I personally think it's better, and that was their last album to get nominated for Album of the Year. So if we're going by those standards, this Coldplay album deserves to get the nomination. It's not that Fiona Apple doesn't. Take that qualm up with the Grammys, not Coldplay. They deserve every bit of the nomination.
And I agree with that. I haven't listened to the Fiona Apple one, so I can't comment on it. I will say, I bet you caught this, but I have my list open here by of the awards, all the awards awarded at the Grammy. The Fiona Apple album did win Best Alternative Music Album.
It did.
Like not only was nominated, but did win.
That is people's problem, which I understand, because if you look, Women in Music Part 3 by Haim wasn't nominated in the Best Rock category, but was nominated for Album of the Year. Same thing for Coldplay's Everyday Life, wasn't nominated for Alternative or Rock. Some Coldplay fans are a little bit wondering if that's because Coldplay's new album doesn't really fit into a genre, which is kind of true. It's a lot of world music and it's very different for them. But that's where people have their qualms. Again, if you haven't listened to it, you don't get a say in that. And if you have listened to both of them, then I think most people would agree that the album deserved credit. But of course, the Grammys doesn't always get it right. They never usually get it right. So
yeah, they usually are, I would say, just to put a positive spin, they give, usually from everything I've seen, they give good recommendations. A lot of their nominations, I haven't, even in looking at all these nominations for Record of the Year, Album of the Year, Song of the Year, Best New Artist, like everything with that, there's nothing in here that I would say is bad, which is a good thing. But they are not the be all end all of what is truly the best or the greatest, because that is all subjective. That's completely up to you. You might look at best, what's a good one? Oh, Song of the Year, and you might say, like, what do you mean? I think Cardigan is such a much better song than I Can't Breathe, which, I mean, I Can't Breathe deserves
I Can't Breathe is
for being
beautiful.
a song for its time. I've just picked that one at random. But you might have a stronger opinion about that, or that The Box is better than this one, or whatever. All those nominations, you might have
Best of
you
Women
might
in
have your own
Addiction
personal
box set
opinion.
Grammy.
You might have your own personal opinion, and that is completely fine. That is up to you. But all of these songs on this list for Song of the Year deserve a listen. They are all, like, I've listened to most of them, I would say, and they are all really good. Album of the Year, I've listened to a lot of the songs on these albums. Fantastic. Even Record of the Year, a lot of these songs were are worth a listen. You might not be into DaBaby and Roddy Ricch, but I saw their performance of Rockstar and it's a catchy song.
Yeah, fair enough. And that's the thing, like you're never always going to agree with genres. The Grammys can never appease everyone, so that's something to take in mind. And yeah, I do get the qualm of like albums that are not nominated for their own genre category getting nominated for album of the year.
Mhm.
That's also because the Grammys has kind of a weird system. They have a committee for the Big Four awards, and they have separate committees for the other awards. And so there's unfortunately not a lot of cohesion within their system, and that's kind of a broken system. But it doesn't mean that those albums deserved any less recognition. And it's great that there was such a diverse, expansive collection. I think overall we can say it was a big win for women. Taylor Swift obviously getting album of the year, Beyonce.
I was just going to say that Beyonce's record set that she set this year, she is the two records that she set, which are not as impressed, like they don't sound as impressive as they actually are. She is the most awarded and nominated woman, period. And
she's only two away from being the most awarded artist, right?
And well, something like that. And second most awarded person in Grammy history. She has won a total of 28 awards for music that she either is entirely hers, or I do believe they include stuff that she is featured on, but that doesn't take anything away from it. She has won a total of 28 awards, making her, like, what they should say, I think, is that she has the second most Grammy awards of anybody in the history of the Grammys. And worth mentioning too, the person she is behind is a classical music conductor by the name of Sir George Solti. I'm probably pronouncing that incorrectly, and a lot of times what happens with classical music in the Grammys is they sort of pick the same types of people over and over. They'll find one person who releases really good albums of classical music.
One of our vocal instructors at Oris actually has a Grammy.
Exactly. Like lots of these classical music people can be featured at the Grammys. You never see them like in the award show itself. They usually are in the pre-show or something else, or just listed online, things like that. But there's only one person ahead of Beyonce, ahead by, I think it's 4 awards. I think he has 32. Maybe
the awards are the nominations.
It's awards. It's based on the awards that they've actually won. Beyonce also has gotten 79 nominations.
Yeah, it's insane. She's probably the most, if not one of the most, maybe the most prolific artists in Grammy history, just with the amount of material she's given to them to award, and they've come back with the nominations.
Exactly. So big credit where it's due to her. Like really, they should be pointing out more so than most awarded woman or second most awarded person is in the pop realm. She has more Grammys than anyone in the like
pop realm. She's
primarily like, and that's not even just the pop realm. Like I say, pop.
It's just the mainstream realm in general.
Like more than any rock star, than any. Like more than any rock star, pop musician, country artist, R&B, hip hop, rap, all of that, like more than any of them, she has more than anybody in the mainstream. And it's just one person who's a conductor who's been around forever has just slightly more Grammy awards than she does, which Beyonce isn't done. We very well might see her top that person's record in her time.
Like, she ain't done.
I don't see her being done at all. But yeah, one thing I also want to throw out there, just as a little bit of a segue, there's, as we mentioned, lots of women winners in this. All of the major awards except for one went to a woman or a pair of women for that.
I know where you're going with this, but I do have one more point before.
Oh my gosh. Okay, fine.
It is a very important point. So, we're really again, women had a big night at the Grammys. It was insane. They won all 4 major awards. Super awesome. I'm glad the Academy or the Grammys came around and was like, yes, it's time. Like women need to dominate this thing because they're releasing amazing music, including Song of the Year, as we mentioned. song or record of the year, one of the two. I Can't Breathe
Both.
by Her. No, she only won one of them.
Wait,
I think
wait, who are you talking about?
Her.
Oh, she won Song of the Year. She didn't win
Song of the
Record
Year.
of the Year. That was Billie Eilish, but she
Billie
won.
Eilish won record of the year, and then Megan Thee Stallion won best new artist. But
Yep.
I Can't Breathe, such a social statement. Obviously, a big part of just Black Lives Matter movement, equality for all people, and you know, putting people of color up during, just with how things have been with race issues lately. So that was obviously a milestone win that we're really happy to have. But what we might not have noticed, and I didn't notice right away, is there was one giant omission from the whole awards show. Sam, who performed at the Super Bowl halftime show this year?
Oh gosh, I can't. Oh, The Weeknd.
He didn't get nominated for a single award.
Yeah. Did he release anything this year?
Blinding Lights was eligible, and After Hours, his album. They
Oh,
basically
interesting.
told him he was going to get nominated. Everyone was telling him he was going to get nominated for like 5 or 6 Grammys, and then he didn't even get nominated for one when people were thinking he was going to sweep the floor with everything, which, like, obviously, we're glad for the big night for women. Kind of a shame that The Weeknd, like, Blinding Lights, probably biggest song of the year.
One of them, that's for sure.
Should have at least gotten nominated. That's
looking at
miss.
the songs of the year, that is a huge omission. I don't know enough of these songs really to say if there's any that shouldn't be on here, because I just don't know all of them. But Blinding Lights, did deserve
like
a little bit
I
more
don't
love.
even think those awards have like a limit on how many spots for what I've seen, because it fluctuates every year. That'd have been an easy one just to throw on, because just the obligation to throw on the biggest pop song, and well received too. It's not like it was a big pop song but everyone hated it. Like, it was a well received song. So I just want to make that. But of course, it was a big night for women until someone broke it up, Sam.
Well, I wouldn't say this person broke it up. It was, I believe, one of the first awards to be announced, if I remember correctly, too. But the only award in any of the pop, or really most of the pop realms that, or at least announced awards in the pop realm, was Pop Solo Performance, which went to Watermelon Sugar by Harry Styles, which conveniently, and I swear, like, cross my heart, we did not plan it this way. We planned this episode before the Grammys happened, planned this song. That is my song of the week, or one of my 2 songs of the week, I should say.
Props
Harry Styles.
Really, real props to you.
I made the prediction. It was
the prediction. Okay.
So my songs of the week this week are both Harry Styles songs, Watermelon Sugar and Canyon Moon. I'll start with Watermelon Sugar because I used it as the lead-in. Just really, what a fun song. I wasn't looking for anything too serious this week. There are some songs that I enjoy because I think they are like gorgeously complex musically and have powerful messages and fascinating lyrics and all that stuff. And Watermelon Sugar has really interesting music and has some interesting arrangements and things like that. It's not anything that I think is incredibly powerful. It is just a fun song. Lyrically, boring, not even going to bring it up. Just a lot of vague fruit puns almost. Tastes like strawberries on a summer evening, and it sounds just like a song. I want more berries and that summer feeling. It's so wonderful and warm. That barely makes any sense. I'll be perfectly honest. I like it. I think it's fun lyrically, but it's not anything incredibly special. But musically, gosh, it is so much fun. I mean, just the horn line coming in, just with some blaring little horn riffs throughout. Just a fun, like, funky sound. Harry Styles' voice is so, I won't call it necessarily unique, but I think there's something special to it, that he has this amazing blend between sort of the pop style and the rock style, that he came out of One Direction and like everybody loved him in One Direction, and he kept some of that pop styling, but then his debut song after coming out of One Direction was Sign of the Times, a gorgeous, just like slow jam rockish type song from an album previous to this. And on this follow-up album, he took that same sound and just amplified it up. Watermelon Sugar, so much fun, such a good little jam. Lots of, like I said, just horn lines, guitar riffs, fun, funky sounds, and it's just a fun song. Blake, I mean, you would agree, Blake, right? Just
Yeah, I think, in terms of like the lineage of like the white male pop vocalist, I think he's like probably the next in line for Justin Timberlake now. Like that's where the lineage continues through, is kind of what it's sounding like. Sam, be honest, you probably thought I hated Harry Styles, didn't you?
well, we've talked about this before. I know we have. I wouldn't. There's a couple songs that I would have thought you would have really liked, and some of them that I would have thought you would be a little bit more on. I would say
Yeah.
this one I thought was a little bit down the middle. That it's enough rock and up like that type of influence to appease your odd radio headiness.
Odd radio headiness.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, I'm going with that word. But I also thought it had enough.
Awesome.
It's also just a fun, upbeat little jam. So I'm glad you like this one, Blake.
Like Sam, I love this song. I think it's the song of the summer.
Not even summer yet.
It was released a while ago.
Was it released over the summer? I don't know. Whatever.
I don't know. But anyways, I listened to the whole album.
As have I.
And I put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 songs from it on my new playlist.
That's
10.
almost the whole album. That's like
it is. I think it's like one song missing on there. And so I actually wanted to talk about this. I think Harry Styles, if you're going to talk about a snub, he should have gotten Album of the Year consideration.
I agree.
What I listened to on that album is just a growth in maturity. His songwriting ability is great, and what I think is really important, he's not an instrumentalist really. He doesn't play any instruments, but he got amazing people. He is working with amazing producers and instrumentalists. He has formed a couple of partnerships with people, so he's keeping a really consistent writing team with himself, and that's huge. And obviously, he knew the vision he wanted for this album. It's really great. Watermelon Sugar, I think, is, I think he kind of undersold it because, it's on the surface is not complex, but when you're listening to it, really, you hear the guitars, you hear the bass line, you hear the horns, you see how many things he's added. Actually, a lot of people are giving him nods of being influenced by David Bowie, which is high praise. Seriously though, like it's a bop. I love the song. I'm infatuated with it. He's got this cool falsetto on it. His voice is awesome because it's like a laid back coolness.
It's
like that's what it is.
It's not casual. Like, it's not.
You don't feel like he's trying too hard, yet his tone still sounds amazing.
And so it makes it so when it feels like he's trying hard, not in a bad way, but just trying more, it makes it have more of an impact.
Yeah.
Like this isn't one of my songs of the week, but it is, I think, a good example of this. The final song on it, just Fine Line, which is also the name of the album.
Fine Line's a great song.
Was fantastic. And he has moments on that song where he just absolutely wails in his voice. Like, so good. And so when you hear that power from the voice, it's just even more impactful because you get this and he's just super chill, super like laid back. He's just like, I'm just high on watermelon sugar. Like it's just so good. And like his Grammy performance is worth watching with this one too, because he did a slightly more like toned back version where it never grows to the same heights as the album version does, but it's still just fun to hear. It's just kind of laid back a little bit, almost not quite like coffee shop laid back, but somewhere in between like sort of like almost like dive bar laid back.
Okay. I do really love the production quality on that. So I don't know if I love the performance as much because, man, I just love the atmosphere they created on that album.
Super great.
It really is. Yeah.
So my other song, just before we get too off track, just praising Watermelon Sugar all day, Canyon Moon. Now, there was other songs on this album that, I'll be honest, I think I probably like the other songs a little bit more. Like Golden, I think is a great song. I like that one perhaps more than this one. Fine Line, I definitely like more than this one. But both of those songs, and Watermelon Sugar for that matter, were big hits off the album. Lots of people talk about them. Lots of people give them tons of praise. Lots of people.
What about She? I have She hearted on this, which means that was probably the song I liked.
She is also a great song. That one, there's elements of it that I just wasn't as into as some of the other ones, but that one is also a big one. Adore You, I think, is another one that people talk about a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot of great tracks to pick from on this album. The one thing I would maybe say about this is I'm not a big lyrics guy, and that might be why people, kind of ranked it a little bit less. Like,
this one is a little bit more lyrics heavy than, I mean, even Fine Line, the lyrics are
heavy, but were the lyrics good? Because if the lyrics are bad, I didn't notice.
Oh, on Canyon Moon?
On any of them.
Oh, yeah. I think Fine Line, the lyrics are good, but not super complex. They're very repetitive, which is a good thing. Almost like meditative in how they're so repetitive. Not to mention, just I have to go back just one last second on Fine Line. The horns at the end, just the whole like last 2 minutes of the song. Once like the horns start coming in, I get chills just thinking about it right now. And every time Sam's I hear album it, of the I week. Just get, oh, it's so good. Fine Line, also an excellent song. But Canyon Moon, I want to focus in on this one. This one I like a lot because it's a really cool, just kind of chill acoustic type sound. There isn't much, like, I don't want to say there's nothing much fancy. He's so good as an artist, and his producers and composers with him are so good at layering simpler sounds to make something more complex, that you take just the individual pieces on some of these songs and they're not like the most crazy or the most interesting, but you start layering them over each other and you get just this really neat sound. And Canyon Moon, I think, was so good, lighthearted, just a fun, like, just a good memories song is what I sort of get the vibe with this. It just remembering good times in the past and just still going like the first, or I'll do the second verse because I think illustrates this point really well. The world's happy waiting, doors yellow, broken blue. I heard Jenny saying, go get the kids from school. And I keep thinking back to a time under the canyon moon. Just like out camping with friends. Like, I don't know if that's what Harry was doing in his youth, going camping and stuff like that. I respect it if he does, but just traveling and just enjoying the middle of nowhere, nighttime, raucous fun with friends. I have tons of memories from my high school days with that, even college memories, very similar to that. And I just think it's just a sweet little song. Like, staring at the ceiling, 2 weeks and I'll be home, carry the feeling through Paris, all through Rome. And I'm still thinking back to a time under the canyon moon, just still thinking back to the time that he was just relaxed, not doing much.
You just replaced Canyon Moon with Taco Bell, and it's like our whole college experience.
That is 100% true. And I still thinking back to a time visiting Taco Bell. Oh, I don't even know if we can use that because of copyright, but screw it. We're like, just put it in.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
Go ahead, sue us. It'll make you literally no money.
We make. Oh man, but it's just such a good, fun little memories song. It just makes me happy. Blake, I really hope that you aren't about to tell me that this was like the one song off the album
trash.
you didn't
It's
put
so
on.
trash. I hate
Because
it.
I would be
Oh.
so, as soon as you said you only left like one song off, I was like, oh, this
No,
is
it
such a
wasn't
Blake
Canyon
song
Moon.
to
I
leave off.
like I actually listened to the album in full
Mhm.
right after you picked your songs because I wanted to get the experience of it. I'm on this big album project kick where I'm just trying to listen to as many albums as I can before everything kind of gets back to normal. And this is already one of the albums I had on my list because it's actually on Rolling Stone's 500 albums of all time updated list in 2020. Yeah,
Wow.
which is funny. It like didn't get as
Oh,
much
hang on,
clout in
pause,
other
pause for
places.
1 second. Just for the record, we talked about it before. This album came out 13th of December 2019. So, it was available over the summer of 2020. So this has been out for about a year and how much? A year and some months, year and
Yeah,
3 months ish.
yeah,
So anyway, sorry, continue on.
yeah. But Canyon Moon, there. If anyone who's like a classic rock fan, is hearing me say this, they might come at me with some blow torches and some torches and
Blow
pitchforks.
torches.
Not blow torches. Definitely don't come with that. But torches and pitchforks. It might be a riot, but honestly, I think the guitar line kind of sounds like the Allman Brothers Band. Um, it's kind of I know it's kind of a crazy comparison, but it's got like a really nice cadence to it. It's like just a great way to throw like, yeah, let's just throw like 4 different chord variations in like our opening riff, or like 8 chord variations. It might be. Um, it sounds really nice. There are some parts of the song that are a little bit, they're not as interesting as a lot of parts on the album, but I think the vocals at the end, um, the repetition of "I'm Going Home," how he keeps layering, he double and triple tracks his vocals and is singing harmony with himself, and the production quality and his vocal quality on it is absolutely amazing. They're really solid. Good picks. You win. You win this week, Sam.
I
You
will
got
take
a
that.
Grammy winner
Oh,
literally before you
Thank
even knew. You might not even known it was nominated.
I'll be honest, I didn't. I only know, and I got to give this as just a little shout out. I would not know anything or have any interest in listening to Harry Styles if not for my little sister.
Aww.
She is big into One Direction, and she's big into all the individual members of One Direction music. And I mean, and I should know better because I know she has good taste, because on top of being interested in this, some of like One Direction members, her other favorite artists are Queen and Elton John and the Beatles. So like she has really good taste, and I should know better and should trust her taste maybe a little bit more. But this song was definitely these songs and this album overall were fantastic. I'm glad she recommended them to me. Just out of curiosity, Blake, do you know what the 2 ones that you didn't put on your list were or didn't put on?
And actually might have only been one. See if I can find it here.
Here, I'll list out the songs here real quick. Ready?
No, it's gonna be easier if I do it on here. I think it was Cherry.
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 That one's not my favorite either.
Yeah. And
There's 12
part of
songs
it I
total
do
on the
for just
album.
the sake of like, so I don't have 5 million songs on this playlist. This is a playlist of just new songs that I'm listening to from new albums that I have listened to in full, and it is currently 62 hours and 10 minutes long.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Goodness. I mean, respect where it's due. We have different ways of listening to music.
I need like all of it. I'm trying to get in so many diverse genres, which actually is a great segue in my artist of the week. Please don't laugh, but their name is Super Furry Animals. That's their name. I promise I'm not like, this isn't like a weird streak for me or anything. There's nothing awoken in me. But no, Super Furry Animals is an alternative band from Wales, which I'll be honest, I just literally had to look up like the United Kingdom's geography because I couldn't have pointed to on a map where Wales was before now. And I understand how broken the United Kingdom's layout is, where Wales and Great Britain Ireland and or Northern Ireland and one other country. It's whacked, but basically Wales is located in the United Kingdom, and that's where Super Furry Animals is from.
Mm-hmm.
And
It's on the west of regular England.
West of England.
Yeah.
So before I get into the songs, I do want to say one quick thing. And I think I've already told you this, Sam, but the actor who plays Dr. Kirk Connors in the first Amazing Spider-Man, so the one with Andrew Garfield.
Yeah.
So
like Victor's basically.
He was originally a lead singer in the band, and he has appeared in a few of their music videos.
Interesting.
Yeah, so they've got some Hollywood clout, if you will. Yeah. But anyways, Super Furry Animals is a Welsh alternative rock group who specialize in just being weird. They range from like psychedelic rock to electronic music and experimental. They're one of the most unique bands I've listened to. I also want to take pride in something really quick. I just want to look it up really quick, but I do take pride in listening to kind of under the radar artists. And certainly they used to be more popular, but Super Furry Animals at this time only has 210,000 listeners monthly on Spotify. So I'm part of I have a band that has sub 1 million people that listen to them every month. So that's like a very tiny percentage of the world.
And Blake, your promotion of them here on this podcast, I'm sure will add like anywhere between like 1 to 5 new listeners. Like,
wow, 5. That's a little eager, don't you think?
We have listeners. Hey, listeners out there, pause, go listen to Super Furry Animals. Prove us wrong. Well, bump that number up to 211,000.
Oh my goodness. That's a lot, Sam. That'd be more views than we've had in our combined history on YouTube.
Oh my gosh. Okay. This is not the roast of us. This is our time to talk about Super Furry Animals.
Anyways, so the 2 songs I chose, I'm expecting Sam to hate, so it's really fine if he does. And if he doesn't, I might cry. So the first song is called Spitty Eye Haylog. It's Welsh, and I definitely botched it, but it's called a Spitty Eye Haylog. It starts with a Y. And the track starts out with just this blaring guitar that's got this flanger effect pedal on it. And also a saxophone playing that kind of actually serves as the bass for the song playing under it. So it's kind of like a straightforward alternative rock song, but it sounds a bit weirder than it probably is. And this song is in Welsh. So this is from their one album that they did entirely in Welsh. And basically it's because Super Furry Animals were getting tired that people weren't playing their songs on the radio, and they figured, well, if they're not going to play our English songs on the radio, we might as well make Welsh songs that they also won't play on the radio. So at least we can play in our native tongue. And it was kind of an attack on globalization of music and the English language, which is cool, like honoring their own heritage. It's still the only Welsh album they've released to date. So they mostly do English albums, but I really wanted to give this track a listen, and it was awesome. The second I heard it, I fell in love with it, even though their accents are kind of weird, which make the vocals a little bit different. So if you're not used to listening to non-American vocalists, it can be a little bit of a odd experience, first off. But basically, they come crashing in with this song, that flanger guitar, some saxophones, and the vocalist comes in and is singing his Welsh lines, and it builds up. There's some harmony vocals going on, and once you get to the chorus, you kind of hear more of the effects they start using. They actually use a vocoder to make their voice have an echoey feedback kind of reverb on their vocals that very well, I think, kind of encapsulates the song. It makes it very unique. And then, they kind of just break down with playing the guitar again. They actually take a lot of the kind of weird distorted stuff out at points and then bring it back in. There's a lot of feedbacking going on, some wah-wah effects on the guitar. And yeah, it's just overall kind of a straightforward rocker with some not a lot of electronic effects. A lot of it's done just like on their piano and stuff, but it's cool. Oh, it's also got trumpet on it. The song has trumpet too. So it's also kind of funny. So their argument was they were mad that people weren't playing their songs on the radio, and their argument was we haven't gotten the top 10 song in the UK, but you start going down the list and they have like tons of top 40 songs, and like they got mad because they had a song that got to 11 and it didn't get to 10. And I'm like, so they were actually a really popular band at one point. It's insane how popular their music was for how weird they are. But like we've said, the UK charts work a little bit differently. But just like, oh, we're not number one, really? Well, we're going to do it in Welsh.
Oh, and for those of you that don't know, the Welsh language is incredibly hard to pronounce. Like you look at it and it's like, look at it and guess what you don't think it sounds like, and that's probably what it is. Like, all the respect to the Welsh, I mean no disrespect, but goodness, the language, just the way you see it and the way it's pronounced. Like, you got lucky on this one. The Isbedio Helog is more or less, you can read it and pronounce it the same. There are so many other Welsh words that I've read before that, like,
it helps that I've listened to this song a bunch too. But
yeah,
speaking of the lyrics, would you like to hear the translation, Sam?
Please do.
So, this Ispidii Halog translates into sunny intervals. I must say that we have had some sunny intervals. I must say that we had some sunny intervals. But on the whole, it was rather cloudy, monotone, not fine and dandy. A damp-proof home with no central heating.
That is very important to the Welsh.
Apparently. Sunny intervals, sunny intervals. Next verse is, we really felt our shoes were a squeezin', and at the time excuses were flying. Also throughout, there's backing vocals that are repeating some of these lines in a lower octave, which also adds a cool vocal effect, even on top of just the vocoder, kind of glitching with their voices a little bit. But on the whole, our steps were empty. The red blisters were burning aplenty. One step forward for every two ineffectual. Sunny intervals, sunny intervals. And then our love was sunny till the skies opened up sunny, and then ending on sunny intervals. I'm sure it translates horribly into the English language. I don't even know if that made sense to me, but it's like,
I'm not gonna lie, that I give them a little bit more respect on that, because I hadn't looked up the lyrics to it, but I like those lyrics, because yes, it's a little bit, especially when you translate it, it's a little bit odd, but I like the message, that like yeah, life overall has been a little bit gray and monotone and cloudy, and I mean, especially when you're from Wales, that is pretty much what you see, but that they can point out that there are some sunny intervals in there. Yeah. Like, sunny intervals is such a weird way to phrase it when you've translated English.
But when you think about it, though, it's kind of cool because they're singing in a lot of harmonies throughout the song. So maybe they're vocal intervals, which would be really cool.
That is pretty cool. So more respect to them with that. I dig that. That's pretty cool lyrics.
Yeah.
What about your second choice, Blake?
The second choice, wow. This is the one, like, so it's a 7-minute song, first off. It's called Slow Life. And Slow Life gets built on this electronic instrumental track that their piano player had been working on for a couple years. and Super Furry Animals really wanted to incorporate. They're like, this is awesome. We need to put it on an album. But they never got around to it. And eventually the piano player's like, I know you guys really want this on the album, but I really don't feel comfortable releasing it as just this. Like, I want you guys to jam over it. And so it actually turns into not an electronic rock song, but it turns into separate segments of electronic music and rock music. It's like 2 minutes starting with electronic, a lot of keyboard effects using a device called a Chaos Flanges, which is an audio effects unit that allows you to do pitch bending, flange, distortion, and delay. It was one of the most notable uses of this was actually on Everything in Its Right Place by Radiohead. So if you know that song, I kind of
always find a way to bring in.
I know, I always find a way, but that gives you kind of a feel for some of the effects. And what's really interesting about the electronic portion, so it goes on for 2 minutes before the band breaks in with Gruff Rhys, who's the lead singer, on this killer harmonica line that totally breaks up the electronic section, and it turns out into a straight rocker. And the vocals are much more normal on this song. There's a lot more emphasis. So they actually went ahead and jammed over the electronic part, and then they re-separated the electronic part and the rock part. So they were separate entities and they led into one another. But one of the things you notice is that the melody of the electronic part is repeated in the vocal line and throughout the song. So it's like a foreshadowing from the electric component into the guitar or into the main part, and then it goes back into some electronic components. Awesome drum effects. I think it's a great breakdown because, again, it's not like electronic rock music. It's different segments, so it kind of makes it a little bit more of a unique flavor, kind of like it's different passages, kind of like classical music can do sometimes. So kind of emulating some of those formulas into more modern music. Yeah, I just really love the song. There's also this great violin track that was added at the end after everyone had recorded everything. And the violin really just puts it all together, and then it kind of goes back and forth between their electronic component and the rock component until the song ends. I got to assume, at least for you, the vocals were a little bit more or a little bit less chaotic. It was probably nicer to hear a little bit more just unison and some nice harmonies instead of the abrasiveness of a Spitty Halog.
A little bit.
Oh, what do you think? What did you think? I really love these songs.
I'm still a little bit torn. I liked them enough. Like, I thought both of them were interesting and had good sounds. I'll be honest, not my favorite thing I've ever listened to, but to the right audience, I could see how this could be a definite win. Definitely would recommend it at the very least for people to check out, see for yourself. We can do our best to describe it here at the podcast, but
it's kind of insane.
Without you going out and listening to it yourself, you're not going to figure it out for yourself. So I would definitely recommend everybody out there, go check these songs out. They're pretty interesting. They're pretty cool. The band is pretty neat. I mean, you don't hear much out of Wales, so I think that's pretty cool. And for the record, it's the country Wales, not the animal.
Well, they might be Wales. They might be Wales. Who knows? Maybe that's why they sound like that.
It could be like a reverse gorillas.
I got what you were going for there.
Yeah,
you were trying to be funny. I get it.
Oh, okay. Wow. Okay. No, I could take back my opinion. I could say
all right. Well, overall, so you would give them a win?
It's a tentative win, but yeah, it's sort of like a win in the sense that I think people should check it out and make up their mind.
I can live with that because I thought upon his first listen, he literally skipped through like all of the electronic parts. You know what's one thing I really love about it? It reminds me of some video game music. There's parts of it that remind me of, like, the electronic parts remind me of a couple of video games I played as a kid, like Ratchet and Clank. I remember there was a specific level of that the drum breakdown kind of reminds me of. And yeah, it's a very creative song to me, but the rock part is so like, this is the rock model, like the 70s rock model, but in this weird electronic thing going on. So they're a super acclaimed band. They have like more mainstream songs than that, but yeah,
Yeah.
I love them.
So go check them out. Check out Super
Yeah.
Furry Animals. Check out Harry Styles. Maybe use
Listen to
Harry
Thin
Styles
Line.
as a palate cleanser almost.
Do not dismiss Thin Line just because it's by a One Direction artist. Like, it's a good album.
Fine line.
Fine Line. I keep saying Thin Line. Like, I've done that so many times. But seriously, Fine Line, awesome.
Yeah. You know, there's, yeah. I won't even speak anymore. I could keep going on and on and on, but I will refrain for right now. But yeah, just because it's One Direction doesn't mean you should dismiss it. Just because it's not in English doesn't mean you should dismiss it. So
Correct.
check out these artists. And
I would just like to give a big shout out to Ohio State for busting my bracket. You can officially drop the from your stupid name.
Wow. Okay. Before we get off to too much of a tangent there, this is us. We're signing off. This has been Music Major Meltdown. I have been Sam.
I have been Blake. We'll see you guys in the next one.
See ya.
Peace out, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you guys enjoyed the video.
If you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and click on the bell for notifications whenever we drop a new video.
See you next time on Music Major Meltdown.